I'm watching over my niece, Emily, at my brother's house while he and his wife are on a trip. We discuss plans for tomorrow excitedly. As we talk, Emily surprises me by opening the closet door and sliding in without hesitation. I'm Lily, a 24-year-old housewife with a brother 5 years older. We've always been close since losing our parents. Despite both being married, we maintain a family-oriented relationship. My husband's parents live far away, making it hard to ask for help. My brother and his wife had a quick wedding, and since her fallout with her parents, they rely on our support. Our families have daughters, so my niece, Emily, and my daughter, Alice, grew up like sisters. My brother informed me of their 10th wedding anniversary trip and asked me to look after Emily. I readily agreed and they left. I stayed at their house with Emily, who seemed nervous as her parents left. Initially, I planned to bring my daughter, Alice, but Emily insisted not to invite her. We spent time playing games and preparing dinner together, but Emily remained nervous. When I asked if something was wrong, she kept saying, "I'm fine, nothing's wrong," without telling me. Emily's behavior suggested she was on guard against something invisible. The meaning became clear when bedtime arrived. Changing into her pajamas, Emily suggested going to bed early and starting for Aunt Lily's house in the morning. Opening the closet door, she revealed a set of bedding prepared at some unknown time. As I struggled to understand, Emily quickly laid down on the mattress inside the closet, saying good night. Surprised, I blurted out, "Wait, Emily, you're sleeping in there," louder than intended. She replied seriously, assuring it's okay and leaving the closet slightly open in case anything happens. Attempting to hide my confusion, I suggested we sleep together. After a few tries, Emily reluctantly agreed and got into my bed. She asked if it was okay to keep the bedding in the closet as her hiding spot, deepening the mystery. I agreed naturally. Curious, I asked why she needed a hiding place. After making me promise not to laugh, she whispered, "The monster is coming." Initially endearing, the story took a turn. Emily clung to my arm, explaining that the monster is scary and clever, only appearing when Daddy is not around. Her mom drives the monster away and Emily must stay in the closet until it's safe. Her mom cries while doing so, and Emily tried to help once but found it too scary. When the monster pounded on the closet door and Emily trembled, I sighed, realizing the monster might be real. It wasn't just a trick to get a night owl kid into bed. Caught off guard by my sister-in-law's affair, I didn't know how to handle it. If the monster was her lover, it wouldn't come here when she wasn't around. Emily believed the monster came on days when her father wasn't home. Today, with my brother away, she insisted not to invite my daughter over, always staying by my side, watching the windows and the front door. Thinking about Emily and my trusting brother made me angry at my sister-in-law. But reassuring Emily was my priority. I held her hand and smiled, saying Aunt Lily is here today. The monster is clever, so it might get scared and stay away, seeing a stranger. Also, her mom, the usual target, is with her dad today, making it safe. Emily's face still clouded with anxiety, not knowing the monster's true identity. Over time, she began to fear its imminent arrival. I managed to calm her down, suggesting we hide in the closet together. I assured her she could talk to me about anything bothering her about the monster. Hoping to address each concern and make her feel sleepy, another fact from Emily surfaced. Unable to sit still, I rushed out of the house with Emily still in her pajamas. Quickly driving back home, I explained the situation to my husband, who then headed to my brother's house. Around 10 p.m. that day, my husband and his friends stayed over there. Receiving a call from my brother on vacation, he inquired about Emily's condition. After discussing Emily, he urged me to forget about my husband and daughter, get some rest, and ensure the doors were locked. Sternly told not to leave the house, I struggled to keep my voice steady. Looking at Emily, who was sound asleep with my daughter, I pledged to drive the monster away the next morning. When my husband returned, my body trembled with fear and anger as he shared what happened last night. Relieved that my decision from yesterday was right, I spent the day at home with Emily and my family, waiting for my brother and his wife to pick her up. Upon seeing us, my brother questioned why we left the house during the night, breaking our promise. His strong protest made me uncomfortable. Calmly, I asked how he knew we weren't home while he was on vacation. He revealed he had given Emily a smartphone with GPS. His evasive eyes and persistent insistence on the phone contradicted this claim. Suppressing the urge to confront him immediately, I continued the conversation quietly to avoid the kids hearing. Lastly, he mentioned that two unfamiliar men showed up at my place late last night, leaving me puzzled about their visit to the house. In the middle of the night, intruders came, and my brother's voice trembled when he expressed relief that Emily and I were safe. His gaze, however, seemed more concerned with carefully choosing his words. Pressing him about the suspicious men, I demanded to know who they were. Attempting to prevent further questioning, my sister-in-law loudly called Emily over, insisting they leave. Emily timidly appeared, and her mother forcefully took her hand. Suddenly, my brother changed his demeanor, stating he wasn't forgiving me, but that they were leaving for the day. He started pushing Emily towards the door, despite her clear reluctance to leave. Protesting and trying to stop them, I was ignored. Emily, resisting her parents, reached out towards me. Quickly, I pulled her behind me, sheltering her. My sister-in-law raised her voice in surprise, letting go of Emily's hand. Ignoring us, my brother and his wife spat aggressive words and rushed over. Fueled by anger, my husband and I were determined not to let them take Emily. We managed to force them out of the room, and at the front door, waiting police officers swiftly apprehended my brother and his wife. The disoriented couple argued with the police, claiming they took their daughter from home and locked her up. Insisting on Emily's immediate return, my brother argued that if they don't give her back, they should be detained. Meanwhile, my sister-in-law stood silently by the police officer, not trying to call Emily over. My brother shouted at Emily to come to him, but her refusal, influenced by the severity of her father's demeanor, kept her by my side. Realizing things weren't going his way, my brother yelled in the entrance, but he was completely restrained by the police officer. Witnessing this, my husband pushed his smartphone in front of my brother's face. Seeing that, I told Emily and my daughter to wait once more in the other room and shut the door to avoid them hearing the audio. After confirming this, my husband started playing a video he had recorded at my brother's house the night before. Without uttering a word, my brother and his wife's faces turned pale upon seeing it. The video began with a key slowly turning in the lock of the house, revealing they had used a spare key. Two men quietly entered the room, appearing in high spirits, and greeted each other, mentioning my brother's name. They didn't know they had company, and one of them mentioned a discount because she's his sister, looking over at my husband and his friends. When my husband's friend gave a vague response, one of the men boasted about being good friends with my brother and his wife, getting an even bigger discount, mentioning a specific amount. They mentioned they were lucky to play with the kids today. The profile of the man who laughed sounded grotesque. Although I couldn't see the screen, the audio alone made my skin crawl. My husband's friend then bombarded the men with questions, asking if they often came to this house and if they always came as a pair. Sensing something was off, the men asked where Emily and I were. Seeing my husband's enraged expression as he responded that we're not here, they finally realized the gravity of the situation and quickly fled. Until the very end, they were either unaware of my husband's recording or deliberately didn't mention it. My brother, supposed to be their close acquaintance, seemed to have discovered the existence of the video for the first time and was shaking. Frantically, he stated he didn't know anything and had been framed. Despite my previous belief that my brother was uninvolved and my sister-in-law was the mastermind, the video contained clear evidence of my brother offering up Emily and me. His ignorance wouldn't convince anyone. Consequently, my brother was taken away by the police, and my sister-in-law, feigning ignorance, ended up in custody with him at a later date. The police interrogated my brother and his wife, who eventually confessed to everything and were subsequently arrested. It turned out my sister-in-law had a scheme where she would lure men into their home on the nights my brother worked late shifts, receiving money from them. Realizing a demand for children among certain groups, she carefully exploited Emily in a way that wouldn't break the law. Emily, who knew nothing and was trying to help her bullied mother, was photographed posing as instructed. The pictures were supposed to be innocent photos of a child, but my sister-in-law went out of her way to take these photos with a disposable camera, developing them and showing them to her customers, inducing a bidding war like an auction. She only lent out the photos, she never sold them. As despicable as this was, it should have had nothing to do with my husband and me. When my brother became aware of his wife's business, instead of scolding her or protecting his daughter, he started gathering men to become customers, thinking more staff meant more revenue. To force me into working, he continued to threaten me by taking photos of the scene. They carefully chose a day when the neighbors wouldn't be around, locked Emily and me in their house, exchanged the spare key for a large sum of money, and went out of town for an overnight trip to prove their innocence. However, they didn't expect Emily, who had always obeyed my sister-in-law without question, to regret telling me about the monsters to protect me. While Emily didn't understand most of what was happening, she knew the monsters were targeting them. That night, when I learned about Emily's predicament, I asked my husband to capture images of these so-called monsters. With leaked information, police acted promptly when we reported it. We also informed Child Protective Services, ensuring Emily's protection. My brother and his wife were arrested on serious charges, including child welfare law violations and violations of laws preventing child exploitation. Despite being first-time offenders, they couldn't avoid imprisonment due to the highly malicious nature of the photos taken over several years. Fortunately, my sister-in-law hadn't digitized or sold Emily's photos, preventing any leakage. The revelation left me shocked, wondering how my once kind and reliable brother could become such a terrible person. We had been helping each other out as usual until then, and the fact that I didn't notice this distortion scares me. Anyway, I want them to face what they've done. Following the arrest of my brother and his wife, the so-called monsters were also brought in for questioning by the police. They argued their innocence, claiming that because their plans had not been successful, they weren't guilty. However, the discovery of someone else's child's photographs at their residence and their involvement in other criminal acts confessed by my brother and his wife during their interrogations led to their arrest on multiple charges. After dealing with the monsters lurking in our lives, we went to Child Protective Services to inquire about Emily's situation. Her parents were arrested, leaving her without anyone to care for her. In fact, they were unfit to be guardians in the first place, so custody of Emily was taken away from my brother and his wife. Neither my brother nor I have any living parents, and my sister-in-law's family is completely estranged. We learned that if no one from her family agreed to take her in, Emily would be placed with foster parents. After discussing it with my husband, we decided to adopt Emily. To me, Emily is not only someone I'm greatly indebted to, but also a girl I've grown to love as my own daughter. Leaving her was simply unbearable, and luckily my husband agreed. We saw this as an opportunity to move to my in-laws' town. Our daughter, who loves her grandparents and has always wanted an older sister, is overjoyed. She's eagerly looking forward to the weekends when she can see her grandparents more often, and now her wish of having Emily, whom she adores as her big sister, has come true. As for Emily, who finally got out of the clutches of her abusive parents, she's adapting incredibly well to her new environment, and as an older sister, she's beginning to lead a happy and peaceful life.